This conference will now be recorded.
So in last session, we discussed about ADF architecture and when to use Azure Data Factory and why to use and what are all why we have only ADF, we have many ETL tools in current market, why we are moving to Azure Data Factory. I have clearly explained. And when should we use Azure Data Factory also we discussed, right? So, and we also discussed in previous session about how we need to create a free account, right? Azure free account. Let's discuss few more things in today's session. So mostly I'm going to explain in today's session. I just want to walk through this portal. So this is a portal, guys. This is a Microsoft portal as we discussed in the previous sessions, and where you need to create your resources based on your requirement. For example, your requirement is to move data from so and so blob to data lake storage, or your requirement is to move data from on-prem SFTP server to cloud. Your requirement is moving data from on-prem SQL server to cloud. Okay, your requirement is move to data from REST endpoints to cloud. So there are multiple requirements, right? So based on your customer requirement, you have to work in a real time, right? So once you start working on any project, guys, okay, so once you join into a company, and what are all the steps you have to be taken care, right? So you need to request them access. You need to request them portal access, right? The first and foremost, as a Azure data engineer, if you got the opportunity in any IT company, first thing you have to ask them portal access. Okay, so if that customer have multiple subscriptions, you have to ask what is the subscription I have to work. Okay, so you can ask them subscription level access so that you can be able to see the list of resources are there in that particular subscription. Okay, so maybe you are going to work on Azure Data Factory completely, but they have to be provide the subscription level of access. And one more thing you have to remember, once you start working in Azure Data Factory service, you should have contributor access for you to create a pipelines, for you to automate the workflows. Okay, for you to create the pipelines, in the sense we have discussed in a previous session, right? So how you need to create the pipelines and how exactly you need to extract the data from the source and transform and or move the data to the cloud. So we have discussed, right? So same thing here also it is applicable, and you just need to create different kinds of dynamic pipelines and an ADF service, and you can be able to move the data to the target. So let's see how exactly what exactly that Microsoft portal, what Microsoft is offering, what kind of services they're offering us, and as a Azure data engineer, we should be able to focus on the few services out of 200 services. Currently, Microsoft Azure, they're offering 200 plus services. Out of that, as a Azure data engineer, you should focus on few services. Okay, let's discuss about the portal first, then we can go and create the services whatever your business needs. Okay, so generally remember, in a real time we should not create our services resources. Okay, in most of the cases somebody will create all these resources for you, and you should be able to work on that. For example, your requirement is to move data from source to target. Simple way. Okay, source to target. So we also discussed about the courier example, right? So we just want to move the courier from India to US. Right? So the same thing, we just want to move the data from source to target. And so first thing we have to be create as a data factory service, and then we need to start creating the pipelines. Okay, so you should have access to that Azure Data Factory service. Then you can start implementing the pipelines. Okay, so let's walk through this portal. So what is this portal? And now we can see guys here on top. So everything you have to understand, guys. Okay, so I can see here left side three lines, right? So three lines in the sense I'll see all the categories. Okay, so all the resources, all the list of categories. I can see create resource. If I want to create a resource, whether it is data factory, whether it is Azure SQL database, whether it is MySQL database, whether it is apps or any app services, whether it is data break service, right? So any kind of resource, if I want to create, just click on create resource. There are multiple ways where we need to create a resource. Either you can use this global search and you can create that resource, or else you can create a resource and you can also create those resources. And I can see here home page. So this is about the home page, guys. Okay, but once you created a free trial, I can see you cannot see all these services because all these storage accounts and everything I have created for the previous batches. Okay, so for you it should be empty. Once you start creating the services, you can see that recent services which you have created. Remember this point, guys. Okay, so these are all the services. Okay, so based on your requirement, you can create these services. I can see this is a dashboard, guys. Okay, this is a home page. Okay, this is what the home page. You just open this the home page, and so when I click on create resource, I can create a resource. Okay, so just open everything. I'll show you. Okay, I can see here there are different categories. For AI plus machine learning and analytics, we have few services and blockchain, compute, containers, databases, developer tools. For each category, we have different kinds of services Microsoft is currently offering. Okay, so DevOps, we have few services. Identity management, we have few services. We have integration, few services. IoT, we have few services. So all the services are categorized into different categories, guys. Okay, so I can see here media, IT and management tools, migration, mixed reality. So there are different kinds of categories, but you no need to worry about all these things. Okay, but few things we definitely use in Azure Data Engineering. Okay, so what are all the services we can discuss one by one. Okay, so this is a create resource, and when you want to create any resource, for example, I want to create a data factory, right? If search is not working for data factory, you can come here and you can also see that because this search is basically for category checking. Okay, so search is basically categories. If you want to check, you can check it. And when you go to all services option, this is a dashboard, guys. Okay, now I can see there is some view here. When I click on dashboard, I can see different dashboards here, but I want to use that. So this is the dashboard. So I don't want to create any dashboard here. I'll use the existing dashboard. All the services. So all the services here I can be able to find data factories. See here. So this is the data factories. I can create these services. Okay. So by just clicking on this, and these data factories already created for future, I mean already created for previous batches. And if you want to create any service, just need to click on create, and you need to pass necessary details related to data factory. So that we can discuss how you need to create the data factory, how you need to pass all the details. We can discuss clearly, guys, because you have to understand the end-to-end product. Okay, so you have to understand clearly all this services what I'm going to explain. So all the resources, resource groups, app services, function app, SQL databases, Azure Cosmos DB. There are different kinds of services, right? So if you need any service you want to create, you need to search here, or else global search also applicable. So you can also use a global search. Okay. And right side I can see this is a cloud shell, guys. Okay. So right side, so I can even search, guys. I can even search with the data factories. I can even search for storage accounts from the global search. This is a global search. Okay. And I can see here Cloud Shell. Cloud Shell in the sense, now because Microsoft in the sense it's an UI based tool basically where you need to create all the services through UI. But there is an options. There is an option where you need to create the services like virtual machines, app services, Azure Data Factory, storage accounts, whatever the service. You can also automate that through Bash and PowerShell options. Okay, you can create the resources using Bash and PowerShell. So we have the option, but most of the people we use the UI based only. Okay. I just want to explain we have different ways where we can be able to create the services in a portal. Okay, so this is a Bash and PowerShell we can use. One second. So all these services, guys, I just want to walk through. Under general category, we have different services. We have all the services, all the resources, subscriptions, management groups, resource groups. So at initial stage, I have explained about the hierarchy, right? For each resource, when you try to create in a portal, you should place that under the hierarchy, right? So generally, if you want to order any food or any items from Amazon or Flipkart, how they keep your items, right? For example, if you purchase a phone, right, they will keep in a container, right, and they will give it to you. Like here also, we have different categories. Like we have subscriptions. Under the subscriptions, we further categorize. Generally, we have under the subscription, we have resources and resource groups, and we have a resource groups where we need to further categorize it into resources, and we will keep that resources under the resource group. Okay, so subscription in the sense, guys, so you already aware, so at a high level, for any business functions, right? For customer have they have different business functions. They have admin, they have HR, finance, supply and trading, logistics. Like maybe you heard these terms. Few of them are not experienced about this. Few of them are experienced about these terms, finance. This you are aware, right? So we have different subscriptions, guys. Okay, different subscription for all the business functions, and again for each subscription we have dev and production subscriptions as well. So you have to be understand this, okay, before going to work in a real time. So we have different kinds of subscriptions in both lower environments and production, okay, and you should have access to both the subscriptions. So now my intention is I just want to show you all the list of services what Microsoft is offering so that you can have some idea on this. So I can see here all the resources, so resource groups, and I can also see here subscriptions. Okay, so tax, so compute. So I have here virtual machine classic. So app services, container services, all these are different services, guys. Okay, so based on your requirement, you can create these services. So under networking category, we have virtual networks. Okay, load balancers, network security groups, network interfaces, public IP prefixes, and storage. So we have a storage accounts, recovery service vaults, and simple device. There are different services. Maybe I'm not even aware few services, because no need to worry about learning all this 200 plus services. They're not required because we have different people. Maybe few people are coming from .NET. They want to deploy. They want to use Azure DevOps services for their development deployment, right? And so few people are coming from maybe containers based, and they want to use Kubernetes or Dockers. So all these services Microsoft is offering for all the people, but as a Azure data engineer, there are few services where you need to work, guys. Okay, under web category we have few services. Under mobile, under databases, under analytics we have few services. Under identity, under security, DevOps, migration, monitor, management, and governance. So like this, we have different services Microsoft is offering. Okay. So now what I'm going to explain. So we have here directories plus subscriptions, guys. Okay, just click on this directories plus subscription. But I have an access to multiple subscriptions, right? So for your case, you have the access to maybe a few subscriptions where you need to work. Okay, and so this is a directories plus subscriptions and appearance. So if you want to use a dark color also you can use, and you can apply the changes. So now I'm using this flyout option, and I can use the default one only. If you want, you can use the any appearance you want to change with respect to this portal, you can change it. Okay, and a language, so people can work from multiple areas, guys. Okay, so it supports multiple languages. It supports English, and the remaining you can see here Italian or Dutch. There are different kinds of languages. Okay, different kinds of countries, and their respective native language. Japan, their respective native language they can use for them to create the services. Okay, and my information and this is my email ID and the sign out. Okay, so this is what, guys. Okay, so this is what the portal settings. Okay, so this is the settings option and notification. Okay, so you will keep receiving the notifications when you are in a free trial. How many credits are remaining, how many you are completed. Now I am saying yesterday's So credits, right? So yesterday we discussed about the 13,300 credits or 200 USD, right? So those credits based on the services you have used in your requirement, you can they can keep sending the notification saying that these many credits are remaining. Okay, you can also experience this once you start creating the services in a portal. Till now we have not done anything. We have just created a free account, right? And this is all settings, that's what we discussed. And the feedback, guys, so you can also send a feedback. Okay, whether it is positive or negative, Microsoft still responds positively. You can send a feedback, sorry, you can so this option is basically you can create a ticket to Microsoft. Okay, when you face any issues, even when you are in a free trial, still Microsoft responds for your tickets, and they will resolve your issues. Okay, so if you want to create any ticket, you can just click on this. If you want to send any feedback, you can send whether it is positive or negative. Okay, so you can use these options, and you can send a feedback to Microsoft. On the right side, I can see here my email ID and my organization name. So you can also look into your free trial. You can see under this your email ID there is a default directory. Okay, so based on while creating the account, right? So based on the name you have provided, the same name is applicable here also. Okay. So now what I'm going to do here, I'm going to create a few services. My requirement currently is I want to move data from, simple example I'll take it, guys, from blob to data lake. So both are cloud. Okay, I want to move data from cloud to cloud. My first requirement is, let's go and discuss in a diagrammatic way so that you can see, this is my source. Okay, so this is a source and this is a target. Okay, and so source is blob storage, guys. Okay, this is one of the storage in a cloud. We can create this. Okay, and what is blob storage? What is ADLS Gen 2? Azure Data. So let me put Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. Okay, Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. So I want to move data from blob to Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. So how exactly you need to move data from blob to Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2? Both are in a cloud. Okay, remember, guys, both are in cloud. Okay, so both are in a cloud. I want, my requirement is to move data from blob to ADLS Gen 2. So this is your customer requirement. Okay, they uploaded all the files in a blob storage and they want you to move the file from blob storage to data lake. In a blob storage, I have file 1, file 2, file 3. I have 3 different files, okay, in a blob storage, and I want to move data to the target ADLS Gen 2, okay, using ADF service. Simple, okay. Using ADF service, I want to move data from blob storage to data lake storage, okay. So this is my requirement. So try to understand, guys. So before going to move data, first I need a blob storage, I need a data factory service, I need a data lake Gen 2, right? Data lake storage Gen 2. I need to create these services, right? Until now in portal we have not created these services, right? So I have to create all these three services and I can move the data from blob to data lake, okay. So let's try to create the ADF service. So let's try to create ADF. Go to data factories. I can have an option here to create a data factories, okay, or else you can also search here if you are not finding there data factories. I can see here the list of data factories I have created. 3 data factories I have created till now, okay, for previous batches. So now what I'm trying to do here, so just want to create a data factory, a new data factory. So I'll create a new data factory for your batch. So just click on create. So I can see here, you need to understand clearly, guys, okay. You need to pass this, for example, guys, in a simple way I can explain. So this resource creation, in the sense, when you try to log in any Amazon or Redbus or Abibus or any IRCTC, if you want to book your train tickets, right? So if you want to book any flight tickets, so generally what we need to do initially, we need to do the sign up, right? We need to enter all the details like your personal details, your name, your email ID, your phone number, so all your address, all these details you can enter, right? So even in portal also, in a simple way, I'm explaining, guys, okay. When you create a service, in the sense, you have to enter all this information, okay. But with respect to Azure Data Factory service, so what are all the details and how you need to keep this service, Azure Data Factory service, I can explain. So already explained the hierarchy, right? So we have a subscription. Under the subscription, we have the resource group where we need to keep all our services, okay. So we already have the free trial. Once you created a free trial subscription, and you can see here free trial subscription, okay. Under that, you need to create a new resource group, guys, okay, because I'm keeping this service under this resource group, because as we discussed it, right, I just gave an example of Amazon. When you order something, they will keep it in a container and they will give it to you, right? So that's the reason. Same, we will also keep all our services, because we are trying to organize the things, guys. We are trying to organize the services, okay. So under this resource group, under the subscription, we are trying to keep all our services. So resource group is this, create new, and so I have multiple resource group. If you want to create a new resource group, you can create here, or else if you can pass the new resource group here. So like test RG. So this is my resource group. Just pass test RG, test resource group, and click on OK. Okay. Otherwise, you can create. So I've created test RG. You can also go to resource groups here, and you can also create resource group. Okay. Click on resource group, and you can create a new resource group. Okay. So you can see the definition here, guys. A resource group means a container that holds related resources for an Azure solution. Related resources, it means that, so maybe you have in a real time, what will happen, you have different kinds of categories again, right? So you have different under the subscription, you have to be divide your resources into multiple resource groups, okay. You can also do that. So in those cases, we need to keep those resources under the resource. Just in a simple terms, just we need to keep all our resources under the resource group. That's it, okay. So to organize the things, okay. So this is how we need to create a resource group if you are not using this option, okay. So we already created test RG, right? So let's try to use test RG. I think we have not saved. Okay. Okay, this is my test RG002. You can pass any name, guys. Okay, and instance details, you have to be past the data factory name. Okay, so here you have to pass the instance name. For example, my data factory name is test Azure Data Factory 003. Okay, so this is my test Azure Data Factory 003 and the region. So generally all the metadata information, guys, okay, all the metadata information will keep resides under this region related to this data factory. Okay, for all the services generally we will use the same region. Okay, while creating the services, customer can be able to take care on behalf of us, and they will provide all the necessary details for you to create the service, or else somebody who is going to create the service, customer can give all this information, guys. Okay, so version, I'm going to use version 2 here. So version 1 is deprecated. I can see here version 2 now. We don't have any version 1. It's already deprecated. Okay, so you can use only version 2. So next, click on Git configuration. So this Git configurations generally, I'll explain this section. We have a separate section for this Git repository, guys. So when you want to integrate your code to the higher environments in real time, we have dev, test, stage, production, like this different environments. We have to be integrate our code to the higher environments for you to test in multiple environments. Okay, so no need to worry about this section right now. We have a separate section there, we can discuss clearly on this part. Just uncheck this. Okay, and click on next, networking, and here you can see you have to be understand few things. So there is a concept, guys, managed virtual network. Okay, so choose whether you want to you want the default auto resolve integration runtime to be provisioned on demand inside an ADF managed virtual network if this setting is disabled after the data factory is created. So what it means, so when you enable managed virtual network on the default auto resolve integration runtime, if your source system is hosted on a virtual network, right? So if you want to keep your data factory, okay, in a virtual network, managed virtual network, we can discuss, guys, what is this virtual network and how you need to host your source systems, and we can discuss. Okay, I just want to explain. So this learn more option, it will redirect it to the document, guys. It will clearly say that Microsoft documentation. When I click on learn more, I can see Azure Data Factory managed virtual network. Okay, so this managed virtual network, what it means when you create an Azure integration runtime, because this is an advanced topic, guys, you no need to worry because I have not discussed about anything. So this is an advanced concept. When you create an Azure integration runtime within Azure Data Factory managed virtual network, the integration runtime is provisioned with the managed virtual network. It uses a private endpoint to securely connecting to support data stores. Okay, so we can use that private endpoints, how you need to create this managed private endpoints and to securely connecting to the supported data stores. What it means supported data stores, ADF currently supports almost 90 plus connectors, 90 plus data stores. Okay, so you can connect securely to that if it is managed virtual network. Okay, remember this point in Azure Data Factory, guys. We can discuss how you need to create this managed virtual network. We can discuss in Azure Data Factory. So if I can enable managed virtual network on the default auto resolve integration runtime, you can enable the checkbox. Okay, or else you can create your own integration runtime as well. I'll explain that later point of time. If you can explain all these things, you will confused. Okay, so this is a self-hosted integration runtime, guys. Inbound connectivity to Azure Data Factory service. So because these are all some advanced concept, no need to worry about the self-hosted IR. I have explained, right? When you want to connect to any on-premises systems or any private network or any virtual network, we can use the self-hosted IR. So we'll discuss later point of time all these options. And this is at a high level I'm explaining, guys, but later point of time we can clearly discuss about these options. Data factory encryption. By default, data is encrypted with Microsoft managed keys. Remember, guys, okay, so I'm saying about from scratch, right? The data security would be taken care by Microsoft, and all the services Microsoft currently providing the same set of security standards are applicable. Okay, even though ADF is a first party citizen to Microsoft. Okay, so the same set of security standards, guys. Okay, so the data is encrypted using Microsoft manager keys. If you want to use a customer manager key, they don't want, sometimes customers what they will not believe Microsoft manager keys. They can use their own customer manager keys. Okay, customer manager key. For additional control over encryption keys, you can supply customer manager key to use for encryption of blob and file data. Okay, so these are all the data encryption while data is in a rest mode, while data is moving from one place to another place. So if you are trying to move data from blob to data lake in a cloud, in the sense the data is encrypted, guys. Okay, so the security and everything is taken care by cloud only. So no need to check any default options. Okay, I'm not going to use any other options here. So tags are generally we should represent in a name value pairs. What is the use of tags? So tags basically Microsoft, we have same tag name for multiple resources under the subscription, and Microsoft, they will charge based on these tags only. Okay, so they will enable you to categorize the resources and view consolidated billing by applying the same tag to multiple resources and resource groups, guys. Okay, remember this point. Click on review plus create. And these are all this. I just want to validation is passed. You can see here validation is passed, and I can see all the services, the default services for this respective resource. And I want to create this data factory service now. It will take a while to create the service, and it start deployment is in progress. And you can see you can also download the deployment details if you want. So it's created, guys. Okay, your deployment is completed, and you can just go to resource. Okay, I can see here different kinds of options, right? So we have this is Azure Data Factory service, and I can see overview tab, activity log, access control, tags, diagnose and solve problems. So we'll discuss overview tab, and this is an Azure Data Factory service where you need to work in a real time, guys. Okay, so you should be able to focus on this. And this overview tab generally it contains that delete, where you need to delete the service if you want. And these are all some essential details. Okay, essential details in the sense resource group, you created the resource, right? Data factory resource, and you can just keep this in Azure resource group. And status succeed, location, this location you have passed while creating the service, subscription, and the subscription ID, right? And we have a data factory getting started. This is a documentation related to Azure Data Factory. Okay, you created Azure Data Factory version 2 service. Okay, and this is an information about the log, guys. So all the information. So now you created the service, Azure Data Factory service, but you can see the log if somebody deleted any pipeline, if somebody updated anything, right? So all necessary activities, whatever you are going to perform in a data factory, everything should log here. By default, the time span is 6 hours. If you want to see the log data from last 24 hours, if you want to see last week, if you want to see last 2 weeks, last month, custom, so you can see all this information. Okay, by clicking on custom, you can see last 45 days log files. Okay. So you can see last 45 days log files, guys. Okay, so this is what a log. Okay, you can see all management group subscriptions and severity and resource group and resource data factory resource name and everything. Okay, log information you can see here. So this is an access control, guys. So once you start working in a real time, you should see your access. Okay, what level of access they provided you, and click on view my access, and I can see here I am the owner, I am the service administrator, I have this access. Okay, but this is my subscription, right? Even in a free trial also you can see same service administrator access, but real time they never ever provide you service administrator access. Instead they will give maybe storage blob data contributor access, or contributor access, or reader access. Based on your current role, they will provide you the access. Okay, so now I have the service administrator, but when you want to check any permissions, you can just at service principal, you just need to pass that your name and email address, right? So you need to check that what level of access, okay, we have. So different kinds of role assignments, guys. Okay, so we have almost 2000 role assignments. I have 16 already assigned. Okay, so for you I think there are 2 or 3 role assignments I have created for many services. This 2000 till 2000 I can be able to extend, but I have created till now 16 role assignments. So what kind of roles actually? So we are talking about the role assignments. What kind of roles we have? We have owner access, we have contributor access. They will provide in real time contributor access, guys. Contributor access in the sense grant full access to all the resources, in the sense Azure Data Factory. See here, I can see grant full access to manage all the resources, but does not allow you to assign roles in the Azure RBSC. So manage assignments in Azure Blueprints or share image galleries. So it has to grant full access to manage all the resources, but does not allow you to assign the roles. So you can have that access to create a pipelines. You can have an access to create a link services, data sets, whatever we discussed in yesterday's session. So we have that information. Okay, so we have that we can be able to assign those accesses, and so that uh, you can work accordingly in Azure Data Factory. Okay, so this is a owner access, grant full access to all the resources. Generally owners also can provide an access to you, like contributor access, and you can work accordingly. You can start creating a pipelines, right? And for you to move data from source to target. And you can also find here reader access. A reader access in the sense view all the resources, but does not allow you to modify anything. Okay, like this we have different kinds of roles. Okay, so if there is any assignments denied, so classic administrator, so I am the administrator. So for real time you can see maybe administrators are different. So in service admin, because once you are in a free trial you can see your name only. Okay, so different kinds of roles, role assignments. Okay, so if you want to check your current access, you can just check view my access. you want to see, for example, now I have 16 role assignments, you want to download all the role assignments, you can still do that. Okay, we have an option. Okay, so this is what access control. I can see here a tax. So tax basically for billing purpose, you already aware that. So this is diagnose and solve problems, and if you have any most common problems for your resource, select troubleshoot. If you have any and to run an automated troubleshooter, uh, follow do it yourself troubleshooting steps. So these are all some information, guys, okay, regarding that how we need to troubleshoot the issue, copy activity or self-hosted IR. So issues during design while executing copy activity. So just need to check all this or diagnose and solve problems. We generally no need to check all these things. We can go ahead and check the documentation. Here also it will redirect into that documentation only. Okay. And networking, guys, so what will happen in a real time, we have a public endpoint and private endpoint. To securely connecting to your data stores, generally we should use the private endpoint connections, guys. Okay, or else I can also use a private endpoint here. So we should use this private endpoint to securely connecting to our data stores, right? So ultimately the customer can use private endpoint instead of public endpoint. So public endpoint in the sense, on the internet, everyone can be able to access your storage account, access your data lake storage, access your SQL database, right? If it is in a public endpoint, right? So, but we should not keep the public endpoint. We should keep the private endpoint to securely connecting to our data stores from Azure Data Factory service. Okay. So now, for sample, we'll use this public endpoint only. So managed identities, guys. So managed identities, generally we have two different managed identities. We have system assigned managed identity and user assigned managed identity. So a system assigned managed identity is a restricted to one per resource, guys. Okay, so remember this point. So it's a restricted to one per resource. Okay, so for Azure Data Factory, so it's restricted to one per Azure Data Factory, and is tied to the life cycle of the resource. Okay, so it's an entire life cycle of the ADF resource. You can grant permissions to the managed identity by using the Azure role-based access control. Okay, so the managed identity is an authenticated with Azure AD. Okay, so Azure Active Directory, you already part of Azure Active Directory in real time, and the managed identity is also authenticated. You no need to pass any credentials. That's what I'm trying to say. You already have the credentials, you already part of Active Directory. So in real time, maybe in Infosys or Wipro, once you join into company, guys, they will add you to the Active Directory. Okay, you are already part of Active Directory. In the cloud also, we have seen Azure Active Directory where your ID and everything is added here, and so you don't have to store any credentials in code. Okay, so that's what, guys, you cannot keep that because you already using system assigned managed identity. It stick to that resource, IDF resource, entire life cycle, and you already part of Azure AD, and you no need to use again credentials to connect to that respective store. Okay, see here, you don't have to store any credentials in code. So if you want to know more about managed identities and how you need to create that user assigned managed identity, we have the document, and we will see while connecting to the storages, while connecting, there are different kinds of authentications we have with respect to, we have system assigned, user assigned managed identity. So I'll show you how you need to connect to that using this system assigned and user assigned managed identity as well. So this is what managed identities, and so currently it is on, and this is an object principal and Azure role assignments permissions, guys. Okay, so properties, so these are all the setup properties are related to this data factory service. And logs, so we don't have any logs, no need to worry about all these things. I'll come to monitoring section later point of time. Alerts metrics, how we need to create a alert. So automation, troubleshooting, guys, remember, so you are in a free trial, no worry, you can still create a ticket to Microsoft by creating a new support request. Okay, so if you want to create any new support request to Microsoft, you have to be clear about your requirement. Okay, So if you want to migrate something, or if you want to do while implementing some change in a real time, right, so you can still create this support request. Definitely Microsoft will charge, but you have, but you, when you are working in a real time I'm talking about, okay, but in a free trial also you can create, okay, but real time when you create a support request, Microsoft will charge from your customer. Okay, remember this point. Based on the service they provided, they will charge definitely, guys. Okay, so what is your issue, and what level of whether it is a production issue, whether it is development issue, you have to be specify that severity. Okay, severity of the issue, so that Microsoft will respond accordingly. If it is a severity A, Microsoft will respond immediately. If it is B, C, D, like, I mean, we have severity, we have to handle within few minutes, within 15 minutes, or we have to be respond, so like that we have SLA. Okay, so these are all the information we have with respect to Data Factory. And so let's go to the overview tab and open Azure Data Factory Studio, and we can discuss a few more things. So I can see here, open Azure Data Factory Studio, start authoring or start creating and monitoring your data pipelines. Okay, so I can see here monitoring your data pipelines and data flows. And this is an official documentation from Microsoft. They will provide you all the information related to Azure Data Factory. So this is a documentation. When I click on this, I can open this document. So we'll also see that document here. It's open already. So this is a managed identity. So Azure Data Factory documentation. Okay. So this is an official documentation and from Microsoft. Okay. And if you want, you can also read this document, guys. Okay. So these are all some graphs, no need to worry about, dashboards related to the monitoring of current Azure Data Factory. Okay. So you are going to create the pipelines, and you can see the status of your pipeline, failed pipelines, activity runs. So all these things you can be able to see. These are all some graphs. Okay. And you can see the status here: failed trigger, failed pipeline, failed integration runtime, CPU utilization, everything you can see here. Okay. So let me open the Data Factory Studio, and this is where you need to work in a real time, guys. Okay. So with respect to Azure Data Factory service, just open this Data Factory. So left side, I have an option author. So I have not created any pipeline set, right? So this is a home page for Azure Data Factory service, and this is where you are going to create a pipelines, right? So we'll come one by one. So when you have any issues, guys, okay, so you have any interlink with Microsoft, and where you start creating support requests to Microsoft, Microsoft will, you can create whether it is you have some issues with while running the pipeline, right? So there is some error, right? So you don't know how to handle that error, but you can still create a ticket to Microsoft. You can create a ticket to Microsoft, so that they can check that error message, and they can provide you the necessary suggestions, so that you can work with Microsoft people, and you can resolve the issues. Okay, that you can check with your team, your manager, before going to create a new support request in real time. Okay, if you have, because many companies they're even looking for support request as well, so you can check with your manager and create a support request to Microsoft. Okay, got you. So this is a home page, guys. Okay, I can see the home page. This is a home page, and this is a Data Factory name, and you can keep checking your updates from Microsoft. Okay, with respect to Azure Data Factory, they'll keep on working on this data factory and data flows. Every week we have some updates coming from Microsoft, and these are all the updates we have. So every week, guys, every week we have some updates coming from Microsoft. If you want to see all the updates, you can just click on this updates, and you can see all the necessary updates related to the data factory. Okay, so we have an Azure Friday actually in Microsoft, and so we'll keep getting all the necessary updates. Okay, and for you, if you want to check those, and you need to check these updates, guys. Okay, so you need to check all these updates. And this is an switch data factory, guys. So switch data factory in the sense, so now I am into test Azure Data Factory 003. If you want to switch to other data factories, okay, so I want to switch to this data factory, so click on OK. See, so now test data factory 007, I switch to this data factory, right? So I'll again go back to our data factory. If you want to switch to any other data factory, you can just use this data factory name, click on OK. So that's it, guys. Okay, so now I'm again enter into my data factory, and this is the notifications, and we have a settings tab, and this is for creating a support request, and this is for sending a feedback, and this is an email ID, and this is my organization name. So this is home page, guys, related to Azure Data Factory service, and these are all some predefined templates. We can discuss about this predefined templates tomorrow session. What is this ingest, orchestrate, transform data, configure SSIS? So all these options, predefined templates, I'll start explaining from tomorrow onwards. We'll start creating the pipelines. We'll start creating the storage account services. Okay, in tomorrow session. So we have different tabs. If we can expand this, guys, I can see home, author, monitor, manage, learn. Okay, so there are different kinds of options we can discuss. Okay, all these options, this they were added, I think, a week ago. So you can see all the tutorials related to data engineering, so videos, so all this information, community content, all this information we have. Okay, so you can expand this and check all this home page, author tab, monitor tab, manage, learn, all these things we can discuss. Okay, so one by one. So tomorrow I'll discuss about home page, author, monitor, and manage. Okay, because you have to be understand before going to work in a real time. Okay, so you will habituated with all these terms, guys. No need to worry at this point of time. I'll help you for each and every case. So how exactly you need to automate your pipelines, how exactly you need to create a dynamic pipelines for you to move data from multiple sources and multiple files when you want to move data from source. So how you need to create the dynamic pipelines, and how you need to create the configurations. There are many things going forward we can see. No need to worry, because we'll go one by one. So the data factory, and in the drop down you can see setup code repository. If you want to integrate your code to the DevOps, okay, or Git repository, you can use this setup code repository options. So that we can discuss. We have a separate session for that. Okay, so this is what, guys. Okay, so Azure Data Factory homepage, we will discuss all these templates, predefined template, where you need to ingest the data using these templates as well. There are different approaches. Again, I'll show you. You can connect 90 plus sources, and you can do the incremental approach using metadata driven. Okay, so that we can discuss in a tomorrow session. And so these are all templates, just a high level. I just want to show you. This is a home page. You have to remember this is a home page for Azure Data Factory, and these are all home page and author, monitor, manage. So what is the use of for each and every icon? We can discuss about all these things in tomorrow's session. Okay, so any questions, guys?
Hello, Suresh.
Yes, Venkatesh.
Yeah. What is resource and resource group? What is the main difference?
So generally, guys, resource group. So we have a subscriptions, right? Under the subscriptions, we have resources and resource groups. So we further categorized all the resources. Okay, so all the services into resource groups. Okay, so resource group is nothing but a container where we need to keep all our resources. That's it. Okay, so we have, for example, so I have explained one of diagram, right? I think I don't know whether you have part of that session. So there is one diagram where I have explained about resource group subscriptions. Let me open that again for you to understand. So this is the diagram, guys. So we'll have that trial subscription, right? So we have from Microsoft, we're receiving this product. Under the Microsoft, we have different clients, right? Tenant in the sense client, other tenants, your tenant and other tenants also under the
Your
Microsoft as.
not visible for screen.
Yes, I think I have dropped screen share. Let me share again. Can you see my screen now?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I'm trying to explain here, so under Microsoft Azure, we have different clients. For example, Microsoft, so is top, right? Microsoft is top. Under Microsoft, we have, for example, I work for Chevron, I work for Apple. So there are different clients, right? So the different clients under the each client, they have different business functions. They have finance, they have supply and trading, they have sales and product management, they have logistics, they have HR. Like this, they have different business functions. For each business function, they have this subscription. Okay, so under the subscription, we have the resource group where you need to keep all our resource group. Okay, so the resource group is nothing but a container where you need to keep all our services like Azure Data Factory, Azure Storage Account, Azure SQL Database, Azure Keyword Service. So these are all different services, but under the subscription, we have different resource groups. Okay, we will categorize that. Okay, so maybe you have that one of the subscription name is sales and product management. Under the sales and product management, you should have the different resource groups. Okay, so maybe what I want to do, I have a dev resources are different. I have test resources are different. I have production resources are different. The naming convention, they have different resources, right? So for Azure Data Factory, I can use -dev. For test environment, I can use -test. I have to be further categorize those resources based on my environments, right? So that is the reason we can create this resource groups at a high level. Resource group is nothing but a container where we need to keep all our resources. Got it, Venkatesh? Any other
Yeah.
doubt?
Suresh, one more doubt is in any area of suppose any data migration from source to target system. In this portal, that how will find this is the source system, this is the target system, that how will do on that.
Correct. So this information, Venkatesh, a customer can provide you. You no need to worry. A customer can provide you what is their source, what is their target. So before you receiving the requirement, and they will provide you all these necessary details, whether they can give it to you the document or they can explain you. Maybe your business analyst, he will closely work with the product owner or client. He will gather all the requirement for you, and he will create some features. We have DevOps. Once we start explaining, I start the sessions about the DevOps, how you need to integrate the code. I can explain what is these features, and you need to create some task. Okay, and he will also discuss with you on the requirement part. So what is your source, what is your target, and what are all the files you want to move, how frequently you want to move data from source to target, how you need to schedule your pipeline. Everything he will explain. Okay, you no need to worry about all these things, but business analyst will closely work with customer.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
No issues, Venkatesh. Any other questions, team? So if you don't have any questions, anyone join new today? I think I've seen people. Ramanaya, are you part of?
Hi, this is my first class. I've joined
Okay,
today. My name is Gnanendra.
Gnanendra. Okay, Gnanendra. Can you you already part of the group, Gnanendra?
Yes.
Did I add any training group?
Sorry.
Did I add in your training group?
This is Azure Training US.
Okay, okay. Sure, Gnanendra. Understood. Uh, anyone join new? Ramanaya, you join new. I think are you part of the group?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sujit, you are part of Ajay. Okay. Venkatesh, you are also part of the group, right?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Okay, Venkatesh, thank you so much. And whoever is not completed the payment, kindly do the complete the process, guys. Okay. So I think I have shared all the details, PhonePe or GPay in group. Kindly make the payment. Okay. Thank you, guys. Thank you all for joining. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Suresh.
Thank you all.
Thank you, sir.